Hello guys and welcome back to another locomotive review, and today we have the gorgeous LMS Princess Royal class from Hornby. This is the latest tooling, and this is 6201, which is Princess Elizabeth, and obviously this is the one everybody knows because it is a preserved example. So we're going to run through the detail, etc., and then give it a run and see how this locomotive is, and just basically enjoy it in a video. So let's get to it. So here is the box, and it's obviously you can see the locomotive on the front, 6201. There's not really much inside of it. It's just a block of ice packaging, and then you get your detail bag, which I think has been removed, and then the instructions as well. So nothing really to look at in there. So we'll go over the other side. So you can see date drawn for the tooling was 2018. So it is quite a recent locomotive, but it's still actually getting on a little bit now. So it's not far off 6 years old. So it's not old, but it's not super new anymore. So that you can see is the design for the locomotive. Then this is all of the history. So you can see it's a 7P, which is quite a high classification for power, so that's pretty good. I believe the highest for passenger would have been 8, so obviously that's very high. And then you've got all the gumph there for the class history. So you can pause that if you want to, so you can read it. And we will now get to the detail of the locomotive. So this locomotive was gifted to me by my good friend Kelly Ashford, and it is an absolute massive locomotive. Probably Kelly's largest locomotive when it used to be hers. So it's pretty substantial, but it's a very nice locomotive indeed. Always wanted Princess Elizabeth. My goal was to have 6201, 6202, which is the turbo motive, which I have, and then 46203 or 6203. This is also known as, which is Princess Margaret Rose. But I do want it in its 46 number, but in the maroon livery, so it'll look the same. So you have the 3 in maroon, and then potentially to get a BR green Princess Royal of scrap status at some point down the line. So let's run through it. So we'll start at the front. So have a pre-fitted vacuum pipe at the front, which looks fantastic. You do have sprung buffers, and they are the sort of oval shape, which looks quite cool. Not many locos have oval shaped buffers, so it's pretty cool to see. You have the lining all across the running plate, all the way across, which is yellow. It looks fantastic. And then you have it on the buffer beam as well, which is picked out really nicely. You do have the moulding for the inside cylinders as well, because I believe these are 4-cylinder locomotives, so 2 outside, 2 inside. So they're pretty powerful. Have all the underframe detail, which looks fantastic. There you can see all the riveted detail, and you can see through it, which obviously is a nice bit of accuracy there for the tooling. Loads of riveted detail on the smoke box and across the top of the running plate. You do have the splashes, which are picked out with that yellow colour as well, and you do have a builder's plate on one of the splashes there, which I can't seem to thingy. So if I zoom in, a couple of mods look fantastic as well. There you go. So you can probably read that. Pretty cool. Then you have the nameplate Princess Elizabeth picked out nicely. There was a couple of little imperfections on the locomotive, nothing super serious. There is a little bit of glue residue as well. You can just see the white there, but that's just Hornby's build quality. You have the handrail, metal handrail, all the way across the locomotive, which is separately fitted and done very precisely. You have the smoke box down at the front, which is also separately fitted and is made of metal, and also the handrail above that. You do have the separately fitted lamp bracket as well on the smoke box, which looks fantastic. You have 6201 picked out nicely and painted, and then you've got the shed code underneath. And obviously all the riveted detail across the side of the locomotive there as well. The funnel is actually moulded really nicely. It's not really in it. It's very deep as well, so potentially they could probably fit a smoke generator in there, which would be pretty cool. You have the riveting across the top of the locomotive as well, which looks pretty good. And then you obviously have moulded detail like the dome, etc. And then separately fitted safety valves and a separately fitted whistle, but I believe the whistle is probably made of plastic, but it is very small, so that's fair enough. Have the yellow lining across the back towards where the cab is there, which is pretty decent. And then you've got it at the front as well. So the actual locomotive itself isn't lined. It's just a simple maroon colour, but obviously the lining, which there is, which is the yellow, looks fantastic with the the maroon colour, so it's pretty cool. The cab is really nicely picked out. You have the black as well, which fits nicely with the colour of the running plate, which goes around the outside, plus the yellow lining, which looks pretty good. You have separately fitted glazing pieces as well in the cab and a couple at the front. And then you've got 6201 picked out nicely with the orange background and then the yellow foreground, which looks pretty decent. 7P also exactly the same, but very, very fine and painted very precisely. Lots of riveted detail as well, which is pretty decent, and it's all over the locomotive. You can just see how much of this detail there is. You have the little vents as well on the roof, which is pretty cool, which open and close. Nice little touch that. And then you have the detail across underneath, which includes some piping, which is picked out in this bronze colour so it stands out. And obviously all of the rear pony truck sort of design and detailing, which looks pretty decent. The wheels are really nice as well, so you've got proper accuracy in how they look in the centres, and loads of riveted detail behind the wheels themselves, which is pretty cool, and loads of like gaps in the chassis which are prototypical, so it's pretty cool. Tender, the connection is a simple old Hornby connection with that plug thing, which is actually still used on a couple of locos nowadays actually, even though they've got that new design. Then you have the inside of the tender, which is pretty cool. So you've got where the coal comes out, and then obviously cupboards and storage facilities for tools, etc. We'll go into the cab very shortly. You have a real coal load added to this locomotive. You wouldn't ordinarily get this. You will get a separately fitted and removable coal load in there. There's a little bit of glue residue there. That's not the manufacturer's fault. And then you've got the yellow lining around the outside, plus the black, which looks pretty decent. You've got LMS picked out on the tender very nicely. You've got loads of riveted detail, and the orange and yellow lettering, which is pretty decent. The underframe of the tender with the maroon and the yellow lining looks fantastic. And then you've got the axle boxes and the springs all picked out into the black there, which is pretty good as well. And then you've got all the detail underneath, including a water scoop and all of the separately fitted brake rigging and moulded detail underneath, which is pretty cool. Towards the back of the tender, we're out of focus as usual. There we go. You have separately fitted vacuum pipe. You've got sprung buffers as well, which are pretty cool. Then you got a coupling hook, which is nice. You can potentially use that as well. And then you have the sort of builder's plates of the tender and the gallon, how many gallons it can hold, etc. All picked out really nicely. All of those are legible by the looks of it as well, which is pretty good. I can't seem to get... There you go. You can probably read those. It's pretty cool. Then you have where the water goes in at the back as well, which is moulded on, which looks pretty good. And then finally, we'll go into the cab area, which is quite difficult to get into because it's quite enclosed. But look at that. So you have a firebox flicker effect. You can just see the LED poking through actually, which is pretty weird. And then you've got all the gauges picked out really nicely. You've got all of the red areas and all the bronze areas, which looks pretty good. Looks fantastic in there. And obviously you can see the glazing from the inside, and you've got little cab doors pre-fitted and sort of at their open position, looks pretty good. And then you've got the plate to separate the tender and the cab itself, and then you've got all the detail just at the back of the loco though, which looks pretty good. So looks really, really detailed. So overall, very, very detailed. I'm not going to run through everything because obviously we'll be here for about a week and a half, and I'm not that much of an expert on what these things are called. Down the other side of the loco, just dead quickly, we have a brake pipe, the reverser rod on the side, which looks fantastic, and then we've got the piping all across underneath of the handrail there, which is different on this side compared to the other. But other than that, I'm not going to go through anything else. We're just going to get onto the track and run the locomotive. So there it is on the track, looking absolutely gorgeous, as you can see. So we will just do a little quick test of its slow speed. The sun's going to be a nightmare for this, I believe. We'll have to go there. Right, so let's see how it runs. That's pretty good. That's really slow, and it is actually moving. I am using a HM2000, by the way. That's just a quick note. I will be removing the HM2000 and using a Gauge Master controller eventually. at some point next year when we do the layout up, because there's going to be a massive layout overhaul. So that's pretty good. Oh no, it's sort of stopped. It's cut out. Come on. Oh, there we go. Need to go a bit further up. Oh. My track's playing up, that's why. That's pretty good. It's very, very slow. Got the coupling rods going around. Oh, for God's sake, stop cutting out. There we go. So yeah, pretty good. Track's not brilliant, so I'll have to sort that. But other than that, we'll get it running, and I've got some gorgeous LMS coaches to run it with, because I run these with everything, because they are glorious. So let's get to it. Here we go. Finally got the track to work. You can just see the firebox slicker then as it came round, which is pretty good. So look, it's very, very bright, so that's a good thing. You want it to be bright. So that is Princess Elizabeth then, and it is absolutely gorgeous and a great runner. I can't wait to get this layout redone because it's causing me a lot of issues in terms of the undulations, and you can see most of them. But it'll be nice to actually fully overhaul it anyway because it needs doing. So they've got some plans. I've got to sort out what I want to do in terms of how I want the layout to look. It's going to be quite difficult to sort of work out how to do it. We've got some cool ideas for what I want to do. So obviously hold up for that. That'll be hopefully partly next year's thing. That'd be quite cool as well. So I do want potentially some tunnels and a bridge or something like that, something along those lines, and see how I can work out how to do the layout basically. Don't know. I need sidings, obviously, as you would expect, but it's how do I incorporate them into the layout, because this sort of thing here, sort of want to get rid of. Potentially bring the layout closer to the edge and have it slightly bigger, but then how do I get sidings externally? It's just working out how to do it. So we'll just have to see, and hopefully it'll work quite well. And the main thing is to get rid of that and get a decent controller. So yeah, more storage for locos because I've run out of space as usual. Just doing that. Anyway, back to the Princess Royal. So gorgeous locomotive, and yeah, it's a welcome addition to the locomotive collection, and I'm super happy with it. So what do you think of it? Please comment down below. That would be handy. Do you prefer it over the Turbomotive? That's another one, because I do quite like Turbomotive. It's one of the most expensive locos in the collection, and in fact, this actually, RRP wise, this is also not cheap. So yeah, but yeah, it's a gorgeous thing, and it is a long overdue review. I do have one more locomotive review now, one more for a new locomotive that has been recently added. So we have caught up, and then I've got a couple of other videos to do as well. So thank you all for watching. Please comment down below your thoughts on the locomotive, and obviously make sure to subscribe if you haven't already. That would be massively appreciated. Check out all the other videos. There's loads on there, and I will see you very soon for some more videos. Goodbye.